everyone, Anthony here at WPPI 2019 conference, and we're talking to Mark from Nikon, and he's going to give us the update on what's happening. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us what's new here. You're holding in your hands, of course, the Z6, popular new camera, and the 24-70 2.8 lens.
Yep, yeah, we're really excited about this. We just announced the 24-70 2.8. It's the NIKKOR Z 24-70 2.8 S is the full name of it. It's a brand new lens for the Z system. It's probably the most anticipated lens that we've had so far for the system. Basically, what this is part of our S line. First off, our S line are NIKKOR Z lenses that are of the highest quality. They adhere to the highest manufacturing standards. They have the best technologies and the best optics in them. Currently, all of our Z series cameras, or all of our Z series lenses are in the S line because we've favored performance out of the gate so that we can match the performance and the capabilities of our Z6 and our Z7 cameras. But this lens in particular is really special. It's got some new technologies in it. We have some anti-reflective coatings that we've never had before. So we have the traditional nano crystal coat, which is pretty standard in our high-end DSLR lenses and our mirrorless lenses. But now it also has another coating called Arneo coat, which is basically does the same thing as nano crystal coat, but it reduces reflections or minimizes reflections that are happening from a different angle. So with the two of them combined, you're getting a maximum suppression of reflections. So that's one of the great features of it. There's a multi-focus system inside of this lens, which is really interesting and really helpful. That helps to focus precisely and fast, even at close distances, which tends to be a challenge. But this lens handles that beautifully. The optics inside are top notch as well.
Yeah, I noticed some of the buttons. If you could explain some of the buttons on the outside.
Yeah, so basically there are two buttons here. There's a display button, which you won't be able to see this here, but you just have to close up on it. But basically the display button will activate some critical information that you may want to see. For example, your distance scale or your focusing. Also, you can change that to see where your your focal range is. So it gives you more precise. You don't have to rely on the markers on the lens. Or aperture. So if you are changing your aperture, you can confirm where your aperture is right on there. And then there's another button here. This is a function button. This function button works the same way that the two function buttons on the inside here work, where basically you can assign it, give a custom assignment to it for ease of use. Really a great workflow feature. One of the things I've used it for, which is really handy, is sometimes I want to confirm, like I click it and I go to playback, and then I come back out, and when I'm in the viewfinder, I can do that without actually changing or reframing the shot. I don't have to put the camera down and come back. Then quickly check and then go back out. Magnifying an image if you want to go and manually focus and magnify it and then come back out. So
what's the street price on this one?
The lens is $22.99. That's the street price. It's always a good idea to check with the retailers or check on NikonUSA.com for the latest pricing. But that's the SRP.
VR, right?
So image stabilization is in the camera body. So it's not in the lenses in the mirrorless system. So there's 5-axis image stabilization, really important. Basically, with this lens, it takes advantage of the 5-axis.
All right, so let's talk about the Z7 that you hold in your hands.
Sure. So the Z7 came out last fall, along with the Z6. So we have two models. The Z7 is a high-resolution camera. It's 45.7 megapixels.
Full frame.
Full frame, 45. Yeah, full frame. Amazing for both stills and video. The Z6 also great for video as well, stills and video. Z6 actually does a lot of things to edge out in video as well because of the difference in the sensors. Z6 has great low light performance and great, it does in video mode, you can record full pixel readout, so it's actually it's using all of the information coming from the sensor, which is like 6K worth of information, and then compressing it down to 4K to give you the maximum detail in your 4K videos.
Staying with the battery, the body, how's the battery life?
Battery life is great. So with these cameras, we're hearing people are using it. They're getting, depending on how they're using it, some are getting 1,500 shots on a battery, some are getting 1,200. It depends on what you're using it for. So CEPA rating is one thing, but the way that these cameras are used in the real world is nothing like the way they're rated. So it's really important to see how customers are actually using it. There's a lot of information online, people using it and talking about how good their battery performance is. But for a mirrorless system, we're really happy with the performance of it. The battery itself, if you're coming from a Nikon DSLR, it takes the same battery as a D850 or a D750. Right. So you don't have to replace those batteries, and it comes with the battery as well. So you.
Yeah. Okay. Before we move on to the buttons, of course, any flash will do, right?
Any flash will do. Same system as the DSLR.
Right.
Yeah.
And then tell us about the buttons on here. All the displays. You have many different onboard features.
Sure. Well, basically on this camera.
Tell you what. Let me hold it.
Yeah.
Because I like it. It's not that heavy.
It's not at all. Yeah. And that's the other thing I should have mentioned with the 24-70 is that compared to the DSLR lens and compared to a lot of lenses, the portability on this 24-70 is pretty substantial. It's almost 25% lighter than our 24-70 2.8 E-type, and it's 18% smaller. So a lot of people think about portability when they think about the camera itself, but the real savings in size and weight happens in the lens. Yeah, there's some savings in the body, but if you really want to pack a lot of lenses, this is where your savings are.
Sorry, the grip again. I hold it for me. The grip is really yeah. And is there a grip? Battery grip?
There will be a battery grip. We don't have specifications on it at this time, but we did announce that there will be a battery grip coming. So kind of stay tuned for that.
Okay. Walk us through the top numbers and features. You got the exposure dials here.
Yeah, so basically the exposure dial, very similar to a D750 if you're familiar with that DSLR. You have all of your modes here, PSAM, and then on top of that you have an auto mode, and you have 3 user settings. So user 1, user 2, user 3. These are really handy if you want to pre-program certain settings like your aperture or your shutter speed. One example I could think of, I was doing night photography, astrophotography, and I was going to piece together 2 images, a foreground image and then the sky. Took a shot at a certain exposure for the night sky, and then I took a different shot, basically at a shorter shutter speed for the foreground, or a longer shutter speed. And when I did that, and I pieced them together, I was doing that back and forth. To be able to switch and pre-program that and go back and forth on the user dial, for workflow, it's so much easier.
For street photography, if you wanted to do black and white, you can set it for black and white. That's on a dial, right?
Yep, you can do that as well, yeah.
That's good. What else we have? We have display here.
Yeah, you have a top deck display, which basically, on the top deck display, you're seeing all your critical information, aperture, shutter, your ISO setting, and then basically how many shots you have left on the card at that at the size of image that you have. One nice thing about this also on the top, you got the ISO button here. Really nice, you just hold down the ISO button, just rotate the dial, and you're all set. And that's the way these cameras function. It's all about intuitiveness, it's all about ease of use. We even, on the lens, on all of our Z lenses, we have a control dial, which is right here. This is handy because you can program it for aperture priority, or in video power aperture, or for exposure compensation. So
how do you do that?
Basically, in the menu, you just assign it like you assign any other button.
Like a function button.
Yeah. So when you do that, I was hearing from one of our Nikon ambassadors, Charmy Pena. She's one of our ambassadors. She does a lot of stuff with one hand, and she's constantly moving the aperture. To be able to go over here and switch her aperture settings through here, it feels better for her right hand. She doesn't have any sort of cramping or anything like that. So it's really again, workflow is what this camera is about.
Right now, of course, the LCD swings out.
LCD swings out. It's a touch LCD. It's a really intuitive touch LCD actually. You can tap to focus, tap to shoot. You can change all your settings in here, and basically your menus are totally, just like you would use a smartphone.
And the menu is a legacy menu.
It's a legacy menu, yes. That's important. That's important. People coming over from the DSLR, they will feel at home with the system.
Yeah, they know where to go.
Yep.
It hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then the Wi-Fi capabilities?
Wi-Fi capabilities, it uses SnapBridge. SnapBridge 2.5, I believe, is the latest version of it right now, and it's a killer system. When you use the SnapBridge app, basically you can seamlessly just transfer through Bluetooth. You can set the camera to transfer everything, or you can just assign what you want. You take a picture, you go back, you press the I button, and then you click select to send, and then it just says, okay, when I know your smartphone's nearby, I'm going to send it to the smartphone.
Wow.
You can also use Wi-Fi. Also, you can remote. You can set up your phone so that to use as a remote live view. So if you want to put your camera over there and then take the picture from your phone, you can do that as well.
Okay, so the Z6, the Z7 is out there, and then future plans?
Well, I mean, basically, we're here with these products right now. So we're basically, the plans are lenses right now. Really build the roadmap. We have a great selection of lenses coming out later this year. There's an 85mm 1.8 coming. There's a 70 to 200. There's the NOCT 0.95. It's a 58mm 0.95. That's going to be an unbelievable
system, right?
It will be for the mirrorless system, yes, and that is going to be an unbelievable lens. Really a pure statement piece. Something people are going to fall in love with, for sure.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add? Because your site, your Nikon website?
Yes. Well, Nikon USA, you can find all the latest information. We have a great website, great information, and we have a trade-up program right now.
Right.
So I do want to bring that up. From now to the end of March, we have a trade-up program where you bring in a interchangeable lens camera, a working interchangeable lens camera, regardless of brand or whatever it is.
Really?
Bring it to a retailer, or you could go to NikonUSA.com and do it through us. But you bring it to your favorite retailer that's participating. They will give you a trade-in value, and then they will apply that trade-in value plus up to $400 off of a Z7 or Z6. So basically $400 off of a Z7 or $200 off of a Z6 plus your trade-in value. And then if you want the adapter is something that most people want to get. The adapter basically allows you to use your DSLR lenses. Right. You want the adapter, they'll take $100 off that as well. So a great trade-in program, great time to consider.
What's the time limit on that offer?
So that'll go on till March 31st. 2019, we're seeing a lot of interest there. Really a great program.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much giving us an overview of what's happening at Nikon.
Thank you so much, Anthony.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate your time.